2001 Dodge Ram. It's a half-ton 1500 series pickup. Oil pan rusted through, and four-wheel drive. And customer, it's a 5.9. I believe this is the last year that a 5.9 or 360, as we used to call them, the LA series block. I believe this was the last year that it was available in a Dodge pickup. They were bringing the 4.7s in at this point, and but don't quote me on that. I'm pretty close, but don't hold me to it. Anyway, to change the oil pan, I read several different opinions on this, and they all seem to talk about jacking up the engine, releasing the motor mounts, and raising the engine. Well, I have done engines in these trucks before, and those motor mounts, they are no fun to get back in place. They are just a disaster, if you ask me. In fact, I end up slotting I take the bolts out of the block, and then I end up having to slot them holes to get everything to line back up again. It's just not a pretty sight. Get my light here going, sorry. So what I decided to do is drop the differential out, the front diff, and it really wasn't that bad. The problem you're going to run into is the two bolts that go to the top of the differential up in here. They have almost, this side's not too bad. You could get a wrench on that bolt, or that's the nut side there. But the other side up in there, holy man, I mean, it's just as tight as you can imagine. So, and they're castellated nuts, they're locking nuts. So, you know, anyway, I just cut the head of the, I went in here on this side, and you can see I took a torch and I just cut the heads of them bolts off, and I drove them out. Now, what this will allow me to do is I'll put bolts in from the back side. I'll put them in backwards this time, and then I'll just run them up with a lock washer and a nut, and I may even double nut them just to be safe, because they did have castellated nuts on here. And then the other thing is, there's 3 bolts here. One of them broke off. I will torch that out before I'm done. Before I put it here in a few minutes, when I go to put this back in, I'll take a torch and blow that out. And then, you know, the threads won't be any good, but I'll just put a through bolt through it and cinch it down, and that'll be just fine. You got to take your drive shaft off, real simple. Of course, they do put that green Loctite on everything, which I'll wire wheel that garbage off of there before we put it back on. But as long as you got a good impact gun, it'll drive them out. And then the last thing is I took these 2 bolts out of the front here that hold the steering rack in place, and I let the steering rack drop just a shade. It needed that last inch. You can see how far there, you can see by the witness mark how far that I think you can see it, how far that rack came down. I mean, it's not far, maybe an inch. But that was what the last bit was to allow the pan to come out. The one other thing I forgot to mention to you is the way this stupid thing is designed is there's a bolt that runs through this bracket right here into the trans, and it has cinched that pan, that dust shield in there so tight that there's no way you can get it out. So I cut that off. I just torched it off, and then I flattened that dust pan back out, and you can see I'm in the process of bolting it back on. It's no big deal. It's got a line cut in it. It doesn't mean a thing, and it saves you from having to undo. I mean, if you start undoing this other motor mount, that's all tied into them mounts up there. You start undoing that, you got alignment issues, and it's just a nightmare. So anyway, I hope this video would help you if you are faced with this challenging job. I looked at it for a day before I tackled it, just to get my head around it and decide how I was going to do it. And it really worked out nice doing it like this, I think. And the other thing is, jacking the engine up, when you got a truck on a hoist like this, I mean, you're already cantilevered way out, and you start jacking up the engine with it on the hoist. I mean, it's going to get scary. You're shifting loads around, and this way, doing it like this, none of that is the case. You're not shifting loads. You're not doing anything, in my opinion, that's dangerous. And you know, that front differential just sits right down there, as nice as can be. It just sits right on the axle, so you don't have to, you don't have to worry about it falling on your head. Nothing. So anyway, thanks for watching.